So we continue here. A little bit more about the Free State Project. One letter to the editor from a hater, somebody who hates the idea of the Free State Project, and a letter from somebody who thinks it's a great idea. Both people living in New Hampshire. We'll get to that here in a moment. But I have to say, the haters were non-present at the county fair for the most part. There was one guy who walked by and just started laughing at us, and I kind of asked him, hey, what's, like to be in on the joke. What's so funny? And he just kind of looked at us and just kind of kept laughing at us. He said something derisive or just sort of blowing us off.
Like your presence there was the funny thing that was making him laugh.
Something like that, yeah. He wouldn't really get explicit, and he just kept walking, which is fine with me. And then there was, somebody else who heckled us at the very end of the day on Sunday. But compared to previous years, I mean, I remember when people would say nasty things as they walked by, and I kind of expected that to happen this year. It really didn't transpire at all.
That's cool.
It didn't happen a lot previously, but it happened enough to kind of be like, oh.
Well, third year, you're old hat at this.
Well, right, and I am kind of old hat at this, Derek J. I've been doing fair outreach booths for more than a decade.
Because for other causes, right?
In Florida is when I got my start doing them. I did them at county fairs down in Sarasota. I did gun shows and gay and lesbian pride fest.
Cool.
So it's kind of like,
for the Libertarian Party of Sarasota?
Initially for the Libertarian Party in Florida, and then after I joined the Free State Project, I shifted the focus of the booth to the Free State Project rather than the Libertarian Party, because the Free State Project actually, seemed like a good idea, and the Libertarian Party wasn't going anywhere at all. And then when I moved to New Hampshire, I wasn't able to afford to do a booth right out the gate, so it took me a few years to kind of get organized and get things together. But I'm glad to be back out and doing it. Yesterday in particular was amazing. Sundays previously, that was the last day of the fair, Sundays previously had not been busy at all. But this Sunday was probably the busiest day I'd seen. Certainly the busiest day this week. And that's weird because Saturday's weather was fine. But anyway, Sunday was rocking all day. We burned through all of our Bitcoin flyers. Still had a couple hours left in the fair at that point. So, of course, I had a bunch of other propaganda. Here in Keene, we've got so much stuff. If you go to tools.freekeene.com, there's actually a list of several of the flyers there. You can look at them online. You can even print them out. Some of them are useful nationally, like the Don't Take a Plea Deal flyer. That's one that you can print out anywhere. In fact, we made a Don't Take a Plea Deal flyer that's specific for national. There's one that kind of mentions New Hampshire stuff, and then there's one that's more written with other people in mind. So you can use some of these tools that we have. Anyway, I had a bunch more flyers there. Copblock.org. We have a kind of a local customized Know Your Rights flyer. Had a big stack of those, and Chris Cantwell and I picked those up, and we just started burning through those. I mean, there was just a constant throng of people walking by the booth. There was like a demolition derby going on toward the end of the fair. So just nonstop people coming by. And, we'll just hand out these Copblock flyers with one simple statement. Do you know your rights with the police? And just people, no problem. They reach out and take this thing. We burn through those in probably less than 30 minutes.
That's so encouraging, because it says to me that in New Hampshire, people are about to get a little more disobedient with the police. Like, they may not answer all the cops' questions. They may not incriminate themselves as they used to.
A little bit of information can go a long way, and you never know who you're going to reach. You never know when, this stuff will be really, really useful for them. And I think it makes a difference. So we burned through the Copblock Know Your Rights flyers. So then we grabbed some other flyers. We've got New Hampshire Jury, nhjury.com, which is all about jury nullification. And that's your right to vote a case if you're on a jury based on your opinion about the law, not the facts in the case. You can use your conscience. So we were informing people about that. And then I also had a New Hampshire Independence flyer, which is all about secession. And that's a pretty radical idea. And you'd think that if you're putting a pro-secessionist flyer into people's hands, that could rub people the wrong way, because people love America. But I was so amazed at the responses from people being handed this arguably the most radical of all the flyers that we'd handed out, declaring independence, the idea of that. And people were so receptive of all age ranges. Now, the qualifying question I was asking was, you from New Hampshire? Anyone that said yes, I'd hand it over to them, and almost everyone who indicated they were from New Hampshire at least took that flyer from me. And almost 90 to 99% of them was like a big smile would come across their face. Their eyes would light up. They would nod their head. They would speak the words I was speaking. It was so encouraging that people are excited about the idea of declaring independence. They want to think about it. They want to talk about it. We'll come back. It's Free Talk Live. So if you're going to do an outreach booth, you've got to talk to people. There was like an iced tea booth across the way from us, and the girls they had working at this booth, all they did was sit on their phone the whole time. And I think it was Saturday, one of the guys was there, the electrician for the whole event was there kind of setting up the booth, and somebody asked him, said, "Is this your booth?" Because it seemed weird that like the event electrician was actually like setting up a booth. And he said, "No, it's my wife's booth, and it hasn't really been working out very well." And I said to him, "That's because the girls that are there aren't talking to anybody. They're just sitting there on a tablet or on a smartphone." And so when his wife actually worked the booth, who had an incentive to do things differently,
Surprise, surprise.
that was their best day of the fair when that happened. I said, well, what you should do is give the workers a commission rather than, because I overheard them, they were giving them $10 an hour just to sit there. Give them a commission. Give them 50 cents a cup or $1 a cup or something like that, and then you'll see them pitch those things out there, I bet you.
Yep, that would make a big difference.
So yeah, you got to talk to people, and that's the way the Republicans and the Democrats, they'll set up a booth, but they just sit there and they wait for the choir to kind of come over and talk to them.
The one I went over to the Republican booth, and the little old lady was she was just sitting there. I think she was knitting, or she was on her phone or something. She had no intention of talking to anybody unless they came and talked to her.
Yep.
She certainly did talk once I got up there, but other than that, she's not gonna haul anybody in. She's just a little old lady. You know how people are. They're, "Oh, I don't do sales." Like this thing that people talk about. Oh, yes, you do. Your whole life is selling something. You're selling you're
yourself.
interacting. Yeah. And so, yes, you do sales. And you just don't choose to use your skills here at this time.
All right, so what about you? Do you have outreach booth experience? Have you ever done this kind of stuff like Carnival Barker? And by the way, I'm still happy to get Carney stories. Somebody called in with a Carney story a few nights ago, but we didn't get to their call fast enough. They dropped off the line. I love a good Carney story, so if you want to share that, 855-450-FREE, or bring up anything. So let's go to Ken. He's on the line. By the way, welcome to our newest affiliate, Talk Radio 850 in Raleigh, North Carolina. They came on board starting tonight. They're joining us here for Free Talk Live.
You just did get that in the first hour, didn't you?
What?
You just squeezed that in the first hour.
Well, I actually had no plans to welcome them tonight because normally I like to wait until I can verify that a new radio station is on board. And
now you have verification.
Since Ken is actually listening, welcome to everybody tuned in there in Raleigh. Hey, Ken, you're on the air on Free Talk Live.
Thank you very much. The guy that precedes you on the station, Bill LeMay, put some good words out for you guys.
Oh, cool.
Owe him an attaboy when you get a chance.
Good. I know we're probably going to get on one of the local shows there too, and be able to say hi more on a more intimate level.
It's a great market, and you'll enjoy the callers from this area. They're very informed people and very up to date on the latest technologies. So,
excellent.
With NC State, University of North Carolina, and Duke University being 15 minutes apart and all in your radio listening area. So
fantastic.
Anyway, I called to. You asked us about to call in if we've ever sat at those booths and tried to stir up business. And I think I work for a company, a large heating and air conditioning company that works in one of the big hardware retailers, and we're responsible for generating leads for those particular stores, and in turn that generates business for us that we wouldn't have otherwise. So the number one thing you just got through mentioning was you were legitimizing the calls. I'm not just throwing something out there to start a Twitter fest or anything else. These are actual something that's being used by big corporations and some local folks here. So please give me a minute of your time.
Yep.
And in doing so, you can. The catch is then what is in it for the consumer, and the cost savings, the low fees, all those things benefit the consumer, and if enough of it catches on, then your prices should theoretically fall. You shouldn't have to pay as much to cover the cost of using your credit card, because as a retailer, we do have to recuperate that cost somehow, and we just basically turn it around and charge it to the customer. So, you can't sit on your thumbs and expect anything to happen. You've got to get out and make it happen. The idea of incentivizing those folks sitting at the booth That's what you've got to do. You know, it's just like society in general. If you tell them that they don't have to do anything and you can go get a check from the government, they're not going to do anything and get a check from the government. But if you get out and get a job, you can make twice as much what the government would give you, but you got to work for it. So
I think it's
not
interesting.
too much different in society.
The sort of cultures of people. Now, when I go to any place with booths, I walk around, I look at every booth, I look at the people that are there, I sort of read their signs, and I go on past. And
I'd say you're unusual.
I would say I'm highly unusual in this circumstance, and most people, they seem to sort of try to keep their eyes straight ahead of them.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
like you're a panhandler. It's like you're asking them for money or something. They keep their eyes straight ahead.
Well, they figure that's what you're going to get around to.
They shuffle their feet along and they try to get out of there as quickly as they can. And it's amazing to me. I mean, you know what? These people are trying to sell you things that make your life better, or no thank you. Either one of these things doesn't really matter.
Ken?
It's either snake oil or it's going to help me, and you have to let them know it's going to help them.
Indeed.
So, any other
Guys,
experience you want to share?
So far, I'll continue to listen.
Welcome aboard, Ken.
Just that, I mean, just you got to get out there and get after it if you want anything to happen.
And
You
that's
can't
true
wait
in
for it to
life in
happen.
general, right? Like that's a true statement, period. Whether we're talking about hawking things at a county fair, or we're talking about just making your life better, improving your station in life, so to speak, you've got to put it out there. You've got to take steps into uncharted territory, steps into outside of your comfort zone. Great call tonight, Ken. Appreciate it, and welcome aboard there in Raleigh.
Free Talk Live, 7 nights a week from 7 to 10 Eastern, live on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.